Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make it, the scarf. I'm going to start, for this one is for Beckett, so hers is blue and purple. The blue is going to be on the outside, purple on the inside. I am using a 5mm hook, but whatever hook you have should be fine. And then you just need scissors and a needle. Okay, since blue is on the outside, I'm going to start with that. Go ahead and make my knot. Stick that through. Now we're going to do 153 chain because those last 3 become your first stitch for the next row. So we're going to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 150. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm almost done. 146, 47, 48, 49, 50, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is how we're going to start our next row. You're going to count over 3. This is going to be a double crochet roll. 1, 2, 3. You're going to start here on this third one. So the way to do a double crochet is yarn over, poke it through the hole. Sorry, I'm not used to recording while I crochet. Yarn over, pull through, so you'll have 1, 2, 3 loops on. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, so you have 1, 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through. We'll do it again. Yarn over, poke, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, poke through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. So it's not all that different from a single crochet, except you're going to have that extra loop, and so you pull through twice. This is called a double crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. And as you can tell, it's a little bit taller than a single crochet. It's about twice the height. That's why it's called a double crochet. So we're going to do that entire stitch all the way through. Now when you're doing a chain, when you're double crocheting or single crocheting on a chain, you just poke through that very top loop. As you can see, it's going to kind of look like that if you pull it up. So I'm going to go ahead and crochet 150 double crochets, and then I'll show you how to turn on and do a single crochet. One thing I want to add, if you ever lose count of where you're at with your stitches, you can always count the top. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each of these little braids counts as 1. I'm really sorry, I'm so shaky. I had 3 cups of coffee. So each of these little braids counts as 1. So if you ever lose your spot and you feel like you need to count to make sure you're at the right place, just count these little bumps, and each one of those is 1. Alternatively, if you feel like it, you can also count each of these as 1. So this is that starting crochet right here. We don't count that, but it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you need to count, you can have 2 different ways that you can count to see if you are getting the number of stitches you need, or if you maybe missed a stitch and need to pull some out and go back. I realize it's probably helpful for you to see how I hold my string. So what I do is I take my pinky and I wrap it around, and then I put it under my finger. So it's wrapped around my pinky and then over. So it looks like this on the underside. This helps keep an even tension. And then this part, I kind of hold in my hand and I move along so that it keeps an even tension throughout. So I'm able to yarn over, poke through, and I'm able to move along pretty easily without losing tension or having uneven stitches, because I'm just letting it slide through my hand while I'm moving. So it just kind of keeps sliding. And also, if I ever need to, I can always drop it, wrap around my pinky, between my middle and index finger. I don't know if that's how Alicia taught you, but that's how I do it to hold it and keep an even tension throughout. This first row, this chain is always the hardest because you just don't have a whole lot to hold on to, and it's kind of hard. But once you get it thicker and we move on to the next rows, it gets a little easier to hold just because you have a little extra to hold on to while you're doing all of your stitches. So that's how I hold it. And then, I mean, the hook I just hold like this. I sometimes use my finger to hold the loop on so that I can make sure it doesn't fall off when I'm looping through, just like that. Again, to kind of keep even tension throughout so it's not all wonky, but also to make sure that, yeah, I'm not losing a loop while I'm flicking my hook around. So yeah, there's that last loop. Okay. So I'm at the end of my row. I've gone all the way to my knot that I started with. So now you turn your work, whoop, and then you chain one, and now we're doing a single crochet row. So this very first hole right here, you stick it through, yarn over, pull through both loops. And now you're just doing a single crochet, so you're only going to ever have 2 loops at a time instead of the 3 that we had for double crochet. Now, all right, I want to make sure you have, let me see if I can get the lighting right. Okay, so there's each crochet has like a front and a back loop, each stitch. You go through both loops. So you see there's a tiny little hole here. You stick your hook through and you pull through. So both of the previous loops are on my, the yarn went through both of those loops at the same time. So you go through like this. Now, technically you can go through just one loop, but it's a lot slower and it gives a different look to it. Like if I were to only go through the back loop, only go through one loop and leave the other in front, then fortunately the blue is not the greatest to see this with. But if I were to only go through one, and I do that a few times so I can show you what that looks like, because I'll show you what it does to the detailing. Hang on. Okay. First of all, it goes a little slower because you have to be a little more exact. Okay, so let me turn my work over and you can see. Here, these are the ones I went through both loops. It's one flat stitch. Here, you can kind of see it. It gives you this tiny little detail if you only go through one loop because the front loop gets left sticking out a little bit. I prefer to do both loops. I like how that looks better than only doing one stitch at a time. I know when Alicia did her hats, she only went through one loop and that's why you have this line here. But if you go through both loops of a stitch, it's a little flatter of a look. So I'm gonna pull out those ones that I did with the front loop only because I'm gonna continue with just doing, or with doing both loops because I prefer how that looks. So again, you see this tiny little hole here, you stick it through and it goes through both loops. It's a lot easier. I think it looks a lot cleaner. The only time you only go through one loop is when you're doing the chain at the very beginning, because going through 2 loops just doesn't work well. So, okay, once again, we're gonna single crochet and we're gonna go all the way down to the other end. So I'll go ahead and do that and pop back on. Okay, I'm coming up to the end of my row. I only have 2 more loops to go through. So I'm gonna poke through and poke through. Okay, so now we're gonna be moving on to our next double crochet row. So once again, turn your work. And this time, because it's a double crochet, we're gonna chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. This keeps your work from like bending or being uneven at the end. So we chained 3, And now we yarn over, poke through, yarn over. You have 3 loops on your hook, pull through 2, pull through 2, yarn over, poke through, 3 on your hook, pull through 2, pull through 2. And so what happens is this becomes a nice straight line because these 3, chain of 3 makes it nice and straight instead of getting kind of wonky on the side. So make sure you chain 3, and then you're going to do another 150 double crochet all the way down to the end of this row. And then I will be showing you how to change colors once we get to the end of this row. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my last loop here, and this is where we go for changing, to do the change for color, change the color. So start off the same, yarn over, pull through, so you have 3 loops on. You're gonna yarn over to pull through the first 2 loops, so you only have 2 on here, and this is where you change the color. So I'm gonna drop my blue, I'm gonna hold it back here with my finger so it stays taut. I'm gonna pick up my purple. The way I do it is I make a loop, but I don't actually tie a knot. If you wanna tie a knot, you can. There's no rule against that. If it's easier for you to tie the knot, that's perfectly fine. But now you're gonna pull that purple through. And so you've completed your blue row, and this purple is about to start your next row. So we're gonna go ahead and turn our work. Drop the short purple. Again, I kind of hold it down here. So the only thing in my left hand is my new color. Everything else I'm just kind of holding with my fingers. This is kind of awkward and it takes a few times, a little practice, but it's not impossible. So I'm gonna, knock my phone off. So I'm gonna wrap around my fingers like I usually do. Chain 1, and that secures my, my purple so that it is securely in place. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do a few single crochet into my rows, my blue double crochet row. I'm just gonna go a few and then I'm gonna show you what I do, because right now we actually have 2 colors connected. If you look, I've got both my blue and my purple connected. So I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm gonna leave a tail about as long as that purple tail, and I'm gonna cut it so that my blue is no longer connected. Now I'm gonna have these 2 tails here, and I'm just gonna leave them. Sometimes you can tie a knot between these 2. It's not too terribly noticeable when you finish your work, but you can tie a knot to just kind of add an extra layer of security. And we will weave in these ends before we crochet the 2 edges of our scarf together. So right now, this is kind of secured here by, it's tied into a knot, and we're gonna continue on with our purple row. So you're gonna go ahead, gotta find my purple, hang on. So you're gonna go ahead and crochet 150 of your second color, and you're gonna do single crochet first. So we did double, single, double, and now we're gonna go single, double, single of our second color. So I'm gonna go ahead and crochet down my first single crochet row of my second color, and I'll pick it back up there. Okay, picking it up at the end of my first row of my second color. Once again, single crocheted all the way down. And I'm about to, because I just did a single crochet, I'm about to do my my next double crochet. So I'm going to turn my work over. And if you need to like drop your yarn to turn it over and then pick it back up again, that is perfectly fine. Your hook will keep the yarn from like losing its place entirely. Okay, so I've turned my work over. Now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. and we're going to get moving on our next row of double crochet. So yarn over, 3 loops on the hook, pull through 2, pull through 2, yarn over, 3 loops, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, so I have one last double crochet in this row, and yarn over, pull through, okay, and turn my work, chain 1. I'm going to go ahead and single crochet 150, and then we'll be changing back to our first color at the end of this row, so stay tuned. Okay, I'm coming to the end of my single crochet row, and we're going to get ready to change colors. So I'm going to pick up the loop for my last single crochet, but instead of finishing it with the purple, I'm going to drop the purple. I'll hold it here with my finger so it stays tight. And I'm going to pick up my blue. Again, just kind of make a loop. You don't need to tie a knot, but if you want to, that's fine. And we're going to pull that through. Don't want to lose it. Okay, I'm going to hold all of the strings and stuff here while I turn my work. Woo! It's starting to get kind of long and thick, so it gets a little harder to turn, but that's okay. Okay, I'm going to pick up the long edge of my yarn that's actually, you know, still connected to the ball. And this is a double crochet row, so I'm going to chain 3 with my blue. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to go ahead and start double crocheting. So yarn over, 3, pull, oops, pull, yarn over, pull. Okay, and now I'm going to get a few stitches into this row before I cut the purple. It's just easier for me to have a few rows lined up so that I don't lose where I'm at. Okay, that's good enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this length of purple that's still connected. Again, I kind of try and make it about the same length as the blue tail. You don't have to. You can make it longer or shorter. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And again, I will weave in this tail at the end. And if you want to, once again, just to kind of keep things from unraveling, which they shouldn't, but if you want to feel extra secure, you can go ahead and tie a knot. And I mean, again, it's tight enough that you really don't see it, even once you've tied it. So it's not like it's going to add a bunch of bulk to your work. It just kind of adds the security so it doesn't completely come unraveled. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and do my 3 rows. So I'm going to do a double crochet, a single crochet, and a double crochet, just like we did down here. It was double, single, double. I'm going to do the same thing here. I think you've gotten enough look at it that I don't need to show you how to turn it again. You can always go back and watch that part again. But again, you can look and you can see that it is basically straight. My angle of my camera is not great, but trust me, it's basically straight, which means I've kept all 150 stitches. You can always count as you're doing it and count 150 every time, but you don't have to. Once you've kind of figured out where that last stitch is, you can just kind of go for it. And if you need to double check, you can go back and count the stitches like I showed you. Okay, we're coming to the end of our final double crochet row. I did the double, the single, and now I'm on to the last double. So I'm going to go ahead and put these last few stitches in, and then I will show you what's next. Apparently my yarn is getting squeaky. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave my hook here for a minute. I'm going to make nice long tail. I'm going to cut. Now this tail is what's going to be used for sewing. So now I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to pull through, and this seals off my work. This is called finishing off or fastening off the work. So now I have a completed 150 stitch scarf, and it looks, you know, nice and neat, except we have these tails here and these tails here. Now we're gonna weave in our ends before we connect our two pieces together with our nice long yarn that we, tail that we just made. So I'm gonna show you how to weave in your ends. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do these middle two pieces together. So I'm at my needle, and this is a blunt needle, large eye needle. If you don't have one of these, I can give you one. I have plenty. So I'm gonna go ahead and put both on together because I'm lazy and I feel like just doing it together. So I'm gonna go right along where these two meet. I'm gonna poke my needle in, and I'm just gonna keep poking it in along this stitch, and it just kind of hides the yarn between the two colors, so you can't really see it, and it's nice and neat. So I'm just gonna go a few stitches in. Honestly, you really don't need to go too terribly far. I probably went about 5-6 stitches in, and I'm gonna poke it through. I'm gonna pull it, pull. It's okay. Now see, I've got this nice little indent here, so I'm gonna pull the yarn back again, pull those pieces of thread through, so once again my end is straight. Put my needle down, and I'm going to take these two tails that are sticking out because I didn't use all of my end, and I'm just going to clip it right next to the scarf so you can't even see where those two ends are. I'm going to go ahead and do that for this tail here and this tail here, and then off camera, and then I will show you how to do the last part with connecting the two ends of our scarf together to make an infinity scarf. All right, so this is the last part. I've got my needle loaded up with my nice long tail, and you just fold the scarf in half, and so the two ends match up. Notice you can't even tell where those tails were. And this part's pretty simple. You just gotta go sew between the two ends and just go all the way down. And now I know obviously that this is a different color, and but the thread really doesn't show too terribly much, and honestly it's going to be wrapped around your neck anyway, or the kid's neck anyway, and so it really doesn't matter too much that you have a small color difference. Sorry about the kids in the background. And you'll notice that, I mean, the colors match up perfectly, the edges match up. If you have kept even tension throughout, it should look like this. And so you just kind of sew along the edges all the way from one end to the next. And then once again, once you get all the way to this side, you will have extra yarn left over. So you just do the same thing of weaving in the end and cutting off whatever's left after you've weaved in the end a few stitches. So I'll go ahead and finish this and show you what the finished project looks like. One more thing I wanted to show you is at the end, when I'm on that last at the other end with my tail, I do like to wrap it around and again make a little knot in my work. Again, it just kind of helps keep it from, even if one of the tails that you weave in starts to come undone, at least you have a knot keeping it from unraveling the scarf completely. And so now now we're just gonna weave in this tail, weave it in, weave it in, weave it in. This isn't the best weaving, that's okay. I might go back and fix that later, but I'm just gonna show you what it looks like. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the end of my tail off. And that's what the stitch looks like when it's all done. If you flip it over, you can't even really tell that I used blue yarn here in the middle. And so let me see if I can zoom out. Yes, I can, woohoo. It's still not very far, but okay. So that's all that the scarf looks like, and it's an infinity scarf, and it wraps perfectly twice around the neck of a kid. I'm pretty sure Sarah and Eli are over in the other room wearing the scarves that I've made so far. So that's it. Not too hard, totally doable. Let me know if you need help.